All
Oh,
right. I cut it off too soon.
it's
Apologize.
okay.
All right. Our next caller, it looks like it's Cheyenne. I hope I'm saying that, wants to talk about getting used to being alone. Cheyenne, are you there?
I think you might have my name wrong. Are we on?
Yeah, oh yeah,
Yes.
you're on. The caller ID said Cheyenne. Apologies. Who is this?
Okay, no, it's RAO, bro.
What's
Who?
your name?
RAO.
Oh, it's RAO. Oh, okay.
Hey, what's up? How are you?
Well, first things first. How's baby Belk doing?
Well, I'll be 13 weeks tomorrow, according to baby doctors. So this week should be my last week of my first trimester. I'm doing pretty good. Getting some energy back. I've been sleeping a whole lot. But getting some energy back and doing good. Thanks.
Good. Awesome, Mario. What do you want to talk about?
Well, I've dealt with loneliness in several different ways throughout my life. When I was in 3rd grade, the kids had this game like tag, but it was basically RAO germs, and the entire class participated in it. Aside from 2 half cousins in California, I am the oldest living member of my family, and both of my kids live out of state, and I've gotten used to lonely. And I'm reminded of that. Like I find that there's 2 types of loneliness out there. There's the loneliness where you're isolated, and that one is almost comfortable for me at this point. The other type of loneliness is when you're in a crowd, when everyone's around you, and you still feel like you're the only one there. That's the one that I have trouble dealing with.
Because you're more aware of how alone you are there. You know, if it's just you standing in the middle of a field, you have so many other things to look at than all of the other bodies that you don't know.
And I'm kind of one of those introverted extroverts. I stand out, but at the same time, I stand out in a way that isolates me.
What do you mean?
Like I karaoke. I naturally have voice that carries, so everybody hears me in a crowded room. But still, I talk over people's heads. I accidentally sound condescending, especially in casual situations, because I'll tend to use the right word instead of using the 6 words that mean the right word, because I understand it, and I mistakenly assume that other people will understand what I'm saying, and it just sounds like I'm being a condescending prick.
Can you give me an example?
Oh, well, the one that I'm thinking of right now was probably in 4th grade, when I was answering a question and the teacher's like, okay, I have a bachelor's degree and I can barely understand the words that you're using. Can you please talk at a level that everybody can understand? Because right now you're not teaching anybody anything except that you're trying to be smarter than them. And that wasn't what I was trying to do. I just didn't know how to phrase things in a casual manner.
Have you at that moment, in an example like that, have you taken that opportunity to ask what it is that you said that was so misconstrued, or what you could have said differently?
I not at that moment. I'd ask later, and I've gotten used to it now, because I've had a lot of friends tell me that I speak in a condescending manner because of the words that I use. And so I've kind of learned, I don't want to say dumb it down, but I've learned to talk in a way that you don't need a thesaurus to be able to keep up a conversation with me.
Well, that's good.
I think that's important, because it, like, to me, if you can't explain it in smaller words, then I don't know. I think people should take the time to try and it seems like some will purposefully use the biggest words they can find. And then when you try and break it down, what they say doesn't always actually make sense. So the way I look at it as when you try and explain something, explain it to someone like they're 12 years old, not in a condescending way, not talking down to them, but try and find out at what level, I guess the best way to word this, what level they're understanding you or able to comprehend what you're saying. For example, I work in IT. When someone says, "What's wrong with my computer?" The last thing I'm going to say is, well, let me think of a good example. If they can't connect to a server, well, because you didn't connect the VPN and run the make scripts, this happened and prevented this from happening. I'll say, hey, you just didn't do this. You just need to make this change. We have to adjust our language. And like for me, like I'm not going to use IT jargon on someone who doesn't understand IT. I'm going to meet them at their level. And I think skeptics should also do the same. Like, we're getting off topic again.
Well,
Sorry.
but this is an important point, because I tend to do that a lot as well, where people think that I'm talking like I'm trying to be smarter or something, and I'm like, no. For example, just the other day, I was trying to explain something to someone, and I had used the word external hard drive, because to me, an external hard drive is just as obvious of a concept as a flash drive or a keyboard is to me. To the person I was talking to, it wasn't. I was talking over their head when I started dropping words like external hard drive, right? So that's the thing is, no matter who you are, you can have these times where you just mismatch and you just misunderstand where someone else is on the conversation. But that's why the charitable listening is so important. And that's why it's so, whether you're on the end of the person talking too much or too literally, I don't know what a good word for that, too wordy, to be able to read your audience, read the person that you're talking to, and try not to make them feel stupid. But also, if you begin to feel stupid, to ask if that's being intentional or not, to try to clarify, or just let them know, hey, you're talking way over my head. I don't really know what you're saying. So we just have a lot to learn. I just didn't want to let that go before we go back to the topic.
Great. And RAO, I can definitely speak to what you're saying about feeling alone in a crowd.
Oh yeah.
When I used to like DJ regularly, I experienced loneliness. And the problem was when I would try and communicate that to someone, they'd be like, you're not lonely. You're surrounded by all these people. People love you. I'm like, they love the DJ. They don't love me. That is two
They don't
very
even know you.
different. Exactly. And that's why, for instance, I am really bad at praise. I can accept compliments, but the second someone starts praising me, I'm done. It's like, nope, you don't know me. Stop putting me on a pedestal. I don't like it. But I know what it's like to be around to even be around like-minded people and feel out of place. I think I've touched on this with Jenna before. Like, even in the atheist YouTube community, I feel out of place. But the mistake I made early on was like trying to emulate some of these other atheist YouTubers, because I'm sitting here comparing my knowledge and looking at everything I don't have. I don't have I don't know much about the Bible, philosophy, science. So I sit here and think, okay, how can I mesh with these people, as opposed to saying, hey, I'm really good at making people laugh, bringing people together, getting people to hear what I have to say, and putting large events together. That is something I can contribute to the atheist community, and something I should put more focus on, as opposed to looking at what I'm lacking. Because honestly, laughter, like, that's like my superpower, and getting people to chill out. Like, in heated situations, I can calm almost anybody down. But I get it, RAO. It's, to me, the only thing worse than being alone and feeling lonely is being in a crowd and feeling alone. That is a shitty feeling, and I don't like it.
Do you want to talk about being an outsider in the atheist YouTube community? I've got 18 subscribers, and my best video has 150 views.
So what?
That doesn't really.
Views don't mean anything.
No, like I feel like an outsider everywhere that I am. flat out.
Why is that?
It doesn't matter if I'm around one person, if I'm around a crowd, if I'm online, if I'm in person, I always feel.
Can I ask why though?
I don't know. It's maybe it's something that I've just gotten so used to that maybe I subconsciously sabotage myself. I don't know what's going on. I can't explain it. If I knew what was going on, I'd fix
it. So this is kind of how I see subscribers and views and the numbers. If anybody, not you, but if anybody is making videos for subscribers or viewers, then I don't think that they should be making videos. Personally, if you're making content that is needed, then it may not take off right away. It may not take off in 5 years. It may not take off in 10 years. But then that content is there for when it is needed, because there are so many people right now that are going through religious transitions right now that who knows what's needed right now. I say give it time and see where it goes. And if it doesn't go anywhere, then be honest with yourself. Maybe look a different area. Maybe try a different topic. Maybe try a different approach. There's so many things you can do. But I wouldn't look at the viewership or the subscribers on any YouTube channel and say that determines how lonely you are.
Or how connected you are, because
right. That's what I'm saying.
There are plenty of atheist YouTubers I've seen who are absolutely brilliant, have great videos, and they have like less subscribers. And yeah, but that doesn't mean anything. That doesn't make them any less of a YouTuber. Hey, maybe no one found them yet, or maybe they haven't made that one video that sets them apart. Maybe they aren't good at marketing. There's so many things that go into YouTubing. So
maybe they're not posting at the right time of day because YouTube plays those games.
Yes. Or maybe they're not using the right hashtags. Maybe they're not
consistently enough. There's so many things. Yeah.
Right. Maybe there's too many swear words in it. You're getting suppressed that way. Like there are so many things that come in. So I wouldn't view yourself as an outsider solely based on views.
Right. Well, I hope we're making you feel better, not worse.
I kind of understood that already. I back on Ethan trying to say that when he was emulating other atheist YouTubers, I was kind of almost taking a political stance on the atheist side of things, and I was emulating someone. And after a while, I switched off of that completely, and I basically went to gaming atheist content, and that's faring out a little bit better for me, but not much. But this is not the only factor that I'm talking about when I'm talking about feeling like an outsider, feeling alone, because even as an atheist, when we get into these atheist conversations, someone's like, well, do you believe that there's a God? Do you believe that there's not a God? I don't believe one way or the other. I don't have evidence, but I'm not going to say that there, and especially when we get into talks about Jesus, because I will advocate for Jesus the dude, some apocalyptic rabbi who said some good things and got murked by the church. Yes, I can agree with that. I have no problem agreeing with that. It's when we get into the God claims that I start having questions. And because I acknowledge and appreciate Jesus the dude, it kind of sets me apart from other atheists.
Ario, real quick, just if we could get back to like the loneliness side of things. Let me ask you this, just because we keep getting off topic. What are some coping mechanisms you have in place?
I don't.
Well, this would be
you say talking about it? might be one, or no?
I really didn't even call her to cope. I just wanted to kind of explain my side of things and hope that there's somebody out there who's feeling the same thing as me, so that they don't feel like as much of an outcast.
So would you say that that's helpful? Because sometimes volunteering and giving back is what can help us take our minds off of ourselves. So you're doing that.
I don't. Well,
So by calling, so maybe you're not calling the show to cope. Maybe you're calling to try to show somebody else that they're not alone, right? So that is a way of giving back to the community, and that could be a way of coping.
But I didn't even really think about it as a coping mechanism, and bringing a lot of this stuff up and having questions with no answers really isn't going to do a lot for me. My best coping mechanism is to stay isolated, because it's the lonely that I like. It's the lonely that I'm comfortable with. And I've done a lot to shut myself out. I've got like 2 friends in town.
So you want to be alone?
It almost feels like that abusive relationship that you don't want to get out of because you know it and it's safe relative to the unknown.
What is your goal in calling today? Because I'm sorry, I can't figure out if you're unhappy about being alone or not.
It's not really happy or unhappy about being alone, being lonely. I have those days when, it hits me that I feel isolated and it hurts. And then I have the days that I feel better by myself than I feel around other people. So loneliness isn't really a factor in happiness or unhappiness by itself, but there are like contributing factors around it, especially around the holidays. I really don't want to be around people.
Okay.
Why?
Because I'm afraid. I'm afraid. If I'm here by myself, I know I'm alone and I know I'm lonely. If I go out and try, if I go out and put an effort into being around people and socializing and it doesn't work, I feel like I failed at that encounter. I feel like I made myself worse by putting out the effort and feeling the exact same way as I always do.
I'm gonna hopefully give some advice that was given to me a while back. You don't know unless you take a chance, and I can tell you this: when I started taking chances on people, I was rewarded. And by rewarded, I mean a lot of my negative feelings started to go away. I felt connected with more people. And while there is still a great deal that I isolate myself from, I still find it important to take chances, because not every occurrence is going to be bad. I would argue that most, depending on how you approach them, will turn out very good.
Well, and just because you had a bad experience with Ethan doesn't mean that you would have a bad experience with me. There's billions of people out there. Billions. And so if one thing doesn't work with someone, just try something different with someone else.
Yeah, I mean, and for any, say, 10 people that do like me, RAO, I could point you to another person that probably hates my guts.
I could point you to 50.
Yeah.
For me, not for you.
Yeah.
I can point out 50 people that hate Ethan. I'm just kidding.
I think of one in particular that quite literally hates my guts with a passion. But yeah, he thinks like I'm a totally like bad person. And who knows, he may be justified. But the point is, if I shouldn't base my life or stop myself from meeting and talking to new people based on the one person who doesn't like me. Obviously, there's probably more than one person.
Well, but the thing is that even if there's millions of people that can hate you, and that should have no bearing on whether or not you like yourself, because like I said, you are the person that's going to end up having to talk to yourself at the end of the day. It's your relationship. If you can have a healthy relationship with yourself, then you can have healthy relationships with others. And if it doesn't work with one person, then you know what? That person could just be having a really bad day. Maybe try again, try someone, but there's just so many options. I hope that we've helped, RAO.
This really doesn't make a lot of sense in the context, because you're talking about individuals, and I'm usually pretty good at talking to an individual, or talking to the both of you together, or actually having a conversation. It's those times when I'm in a group and I feel like there's expectations. I feel like there's social norms, and it just all makes me uncomfortable.
So what I learned the hard way is the best way to get over that. Practice.
Go for it. What is it?
Practice. That's it. Putting yourself in those situations over and over and over again. Asking other people what they do when they feel awkward, or what they do in certain situations. But experiencing it and learning from your mistakes, learning from what works and what doesn't, and practicing the act of practicing being in that environment more often alone can make you more comfortable. I have very similar struggles in that I have found out that I am much more introverted, and I need my alone time a lot more than I thought I did, for similar reasons. I way overthink the social cues, and I don't get 90% of jokes that are out there. There are all kinds of reasons that I overanalyze every social situation that I come to as well. But that's another reason that I just have to keep going and putting myself in social situations, and not just social situations, but different kinds of social situations. When I feel like this pandemic is over and I can go back to the ACA regularly again, what I need to do personally is I need to start going and being around people who have been drinking at some times, because I have distanced myself so much with people that have been drinking that I'm just not used to being around anybody that has any alcohol in their system anymore. And so the fact is that we're in a drinking country, and I'm going to be around people that are drinking. And so that's just a life skill that I'm going to have to relearn. But there's always going to be another life skill to relearn.
The only sober person in the room.
What's that?
What'd you say?
I can't stand being the only sober person in the room.
Yeah, and try being 3.5 years sober, an ex-bartender, cocktail wait. My life was booze, and now most of the people that I know, their life is booze, and I'm like anti-booze. So
same. I'll occasionally have a glass of wine, but I have a deep frustration towards alcohol and how society accepts it. Like people will demonize weed, but then a lot of these people demonizing it are the first people like, hey, have a drink. Why aren't you drinking with me? Just have one drink. Come on, one drink. And it's like, I don't want to just have one drink. Leave me the F alone. Like,
yeah.
I don't like that society thinks it's acceptable to pressure people to drink. But I got exposed to that at a young age. Like I remember when I was 12, my stepdad was trying to get me to try wine at a wedding or champagne. I'm like, I don't want to. He's like, what are you, a chicken? I'm like, I guess so. I don't want to. He's like, just try it. I'm like, no. So I think that was my first encounter of alcohol pressure, where I was just like, I don't care. You can call me a chicken. You can call me whatever you want. You're not going to make me drink if I don't want to. RAO, we have a few other callers, but I do want to thank you for taking the time to call in today. I hope we were helpful in some capacity.
I really hope so too. I don't know that we were, but
I'll have to look over the video again.
yeah, go ahead and watch it.
Saying anything negative. I'm not saying anything negative about y'all, but this is just, it's something that's been ingrained so long that I didn't even call trying to get help. I just called to explain this for somebody else.
Right. And so that's why I hope that when you do go back and rewatch this, that you listen again to the part where I suggest that you might be helped by that you might be in a way giving back to the community by calling in at all today, because you keep repeating that you were just hoping that somebody else might be helped. That could be, whether it's intentional or not, that could be a subconscious coping mechanism that you created for yourself by being involved in this community and offering advice when you have it and experiences when you have them. And that's a way of giving back. And so that could be one way you cope. Just possibly. I don't know. But thank you, RAO. It was good talking to you.
Ethan, and you all have a wonderful rest of your day.
You too. Happy New Year.